better, right? Better.
My vision would turn your world upside down, tear us under your illusions, and send the sanctuary of your own ignorance crashing down around you. Now ask yourself, are you really ready to see that vision?
What up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Glad you're here. Channel is growing and I'm loving it. So, you know what we go and actually do here. We always are reviewing the newest series and the newest movies. Today, we have one of my most anticipated miniseries to come out, and that is The Best Man, The Final Chapters, playing on Peacock, debuted on December 22nd. So before I get into all that, let me go ahead and actually remind you to click like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully you go ahead and actually vibe with me. Now, let's get into obviously my usual parameters and then kind of how this video is going to be a little bit different. First and foremost, you know, I always go ahead and actually review the first 2 episodes of any type of series or show or anything like that that's coming on. I wanted to binge this out. I wanted to watch this entire series. I couldn't just leave it at the 2 shows. So this video is going to be a little bit different. First of all, you can already see that it is a long video. Okay. Can't help it because of the way that I structured it, the way that I want to talk about this, and I needed to do it this way. So I have 3 different sections for you to do, and you can go and actually look below the timestamps to go and actually know what version you want to skip to in order to not waste your time, because you know that's all I'm about, is making sure that you don't waste your time. So first portion is me going ahead and actually going over just a little bit of background of what my bias is into this movie, my perspective and all that kind of stuff with before this series came out, so you can kind of know where my mindset is as far as how I'm evaluating and looking in this prism of this Best Man universe, as it were. Okay, so that's the first portion. Second part, if you're looking for just strictly a non-spoiler review, I will also be doing that in the timestamp. That'll be the second timestamp, meaning that you can go ahead and actually go to me doing my usual critique of the acting, the setting, the story, and if it's worth time for those people that are the main target audiences, those people that are fans of the Best Man universe, and for those that are casual viewers to see if it's worth your time to watch it. So that'd be my non-spoiler review. That'll be my second timestamp. And my third timestamp is those that are looking for a spoiler review, where I can actually get into talking about the things that I really liked about this and the things that I didn't like about this. And we'll just kind of break that down. So those are the 3 different things. Go ahead and actually skip to your section, or if you're a real champ, you go ahead and actually write it out with me. So let's get into it. Before we go ahead and actually get into the review, obviously I want to talk about my presence. So this movie, the original movie, came out in 1999. Best Man Holidays came out in 2013, and now we have the Best Man Final Chapters. When the initial Best Man movie came out in 1999, I was in my early 20s. I actually had my best friend was actually getting married at the time. Most of my friends and myself, we were in relationships, all that kind of good stuff. You're just looking at it from the prism of young black love and relationships and everything that went all into that type of vibe. So it's almost like growing up and becoming an adult at that time period, the same that they did. Those characters were a little bit older than what me and my friends were at the time, but when you're talking about positive black figures and portrayals in American cinema in the mainstream, this was it, because the importance of Best Man, and I don't know if people really kind of understand the importance of why people like the Best Man series so much, or why it continues to go on or have such a beloved following, is because we see black men and women that are various levels of success, whether you're talking about a professional football player, whether you're talking about a head corporate giant of a major news outlet or a major network television, whether you're talking about a professional author, famous cook, a hotel connoisseur, and all types of things like that. These are successful people that are smart, funny, nuanced characters, but they have real world problems. And to see them going actually portrayed on the big screen, not one time but two times in a span of lifetime, and see them deal with real world issues is why this series is so beloved. The other aspect of it to think about of why I have a particular perspective on this is that we are looking at one category that doesn't go ahead and actually get a lot of films made by it, whether you're talking about mainstream studios or by even black filmmakers or anything like that, is the a black rom-com, right? That a romantic comedy with black people in it is just not a big genre out there. And so this the setting, the feel, the characters, relationships, the life, everything that they're writing about, this best man universe goes and actually brings it in there, and it came into my life at a point in time where it was just right on time, and it put a lot of stuff out there for me or what have you. So I want to go and actually color in a way of like I'm going to be very fair and objective as far as what the film is to probably like a general eye, but there's also my own perspective and perception on there. So I at least wanted you to know where I was coming from and why I was looking forward to this particular series, why I may have some types of, maybe I'm a little harsher in some areas, why I'm probably a little bit lenient in other aspects of it, because I do have this history and that process with it. So there you go. Now, let's get on to the non spoiler review. So, the storyline for the Best Man final chapters is as relationships evolve and past grievances resurface in the unpredictable stages of midlife crisis meets midlife renaissance. That is a very word salad type of description. The bottom line is that we enter into our people's universe one more time, but we run the gamut of all different types of storylines going through these 8 episodes. Okay. This is meant for fans of the Best Man series of movies. If you're a fan of any of the 8 main actors and actresses in here, they all have good amount of time that you're able to grab onto those characters. So if you're a fan of any of these people, whether you're talking about Morris Chestnut, Tay Diggs, Terrence Howard, Nia Long, uh, the all of these people are there and they get their own time to shine and they get their own storylines filled out on there. So any of those folks. Also, if you are a fan of romantic comedies or something that's very positive in black culture, those are the people that they're targeting for this particular series. Okay, so let's get into it. 8 episodes is you would think that either one, you're going to have a lot to go over, or there's going to be fillers, or it's going to be stuff extrapolated, pulled out, or what have you. Let me judge this by the way that I go ahead and actually I feel that it was. The first 2 episodes in this miniseries is the equivalent of what I would say is a Best Man 3 movie. Because each episode is roughly about 55 minutes long, you watch the first 2 episodes, you can self contain those 2 episodes and call that Best Man 3, and you will get the same type of fulfillment that you would get of watching the first Best Man or the best or Best Man Holiday. It was self-contained. There were everybody slips into their characters very easily. In the first 2 episodes, they're set in New York and in a Caribbean island. It's the same high profile, high class, and style that our successful characters have always dwelled in. The production value was very high and the settings were perfect for the stories being told. We were immersed in the Best Man universe very well. We're transported back there. Now, the acting, again, dealing with the first 2 episodes, the acting was average to very good. As a group, I liked it as a whole. The emotions and situations, they were conveyed very well. This series, more than the movies, jumps from drama to comedy at very odd times. The cast does a good job of playing their characters to the hilt, but in these first two episodes, the special shout outs go to Morris Chestnut, Terrence Howard, and Taye Diggs. They are excellent in their roles as Lance, Quentin, and Harper, respectively. These movies at the core are about these friends, along with Harold Perrineau as Murch, have maintained this friendship over years. They slip into their roles seamlessly, and we see it go off without a help. On the women's side, special shout out to Melissa De Sousa playing Shelby. For the chick that we were all kind of done with in the first movie to actually become someone that we look forward to, she plays her switch of comedy to drama very well. So she gets a very special shout out because she has transformed that character to being kind of like the character like, get out of here, to now a character like, hey, you are actually family, you're ingratiated, or what have you. Again, talking about the first two episodes only in that self contained Best Man 3 movie, I think Regina Hall, Nina Long, Sanaa Lathan, and Harold Perrineau are okay to a little bit better than okay. Most of their characters didn't always seem genuine or real, and that kind of leads me into the story for those first two episodes. The story of this series could be straightforward. It's almost like Hangover 3 in that it's getting back to the roots of the original story. A friend's wedding is happening and everyone's gathering to celebrate. Okay. The problem that happens is in comparison to the first movie, we had to fit more in and more stories to interest the people because we have so many more characters to kind of round out and develop. Whereas in Best Man 1, we kind of only we did around the edges of everybody else, and we really concentrated on the main three, maybe four. We concentrated on Harper, Lance, Mia, and Jordan. Those are the four. Everybody else is kind of peripheral, and then Robin came in, because she was the interest of Harper at that time. So in this particular series, we have a lot more story to tell. We have a lot more characters to kind of keep up with. And it can be overwhelming at times, especially in these first two episodes. And the pacing suffers. In some situations, we're allowed to let some things marinate and it feels genuine and you're good with it. And there's other situations where we rush it along because we need to move the pieces into the next place to set up something else happening right away within those first two episodes. And again, they almost handled it like a movie within those first two episodes. It's difficult to explain in a non spoiler review, but it can be chaotic at times where, our slow and fast are just a little off here and there. The biggest thing that I find crazy in this series is that it has 8 episodes, uh, but because they went ahead and actually they could have actually ended it at the first two episodes and we'd have been done. Maybe there would have been a couple of unknown things, but nothing that we couldn't fill in the blanks. We would have been perfectly fine with it and it had been done. But the story continues with 6 more episodes, and that's interesting because there seems to be this whole thing of writing more story. And Malcolm Lee, who created the characters for Best Man, really does that. I'm going to talk about these last 6 episodes because I wanted to separate them out because those 2 episodes, first two, are self contained, almost like as a movie. Now, in the last 6 episodes, it seems as if Malcolm Lee decided, I believe the intent was to say, we're never visiting these characters again. And I want to take the opportunity for these next 6 episodes to show these characters dealing with all sorts of life issues, and they're real life issues. We deal with things of medical scares, drugs, assault, LGBTQ plus, um, racism, Me Too movement, midlife crisis, financial issues, uh, severe parenting, um, relationships broken, things where you kind of come back to something of old things and old demons rising their heads, all these types of things. The the freedom of doing what you want and or finding your purpose and just all these types of things. There's a lot of different concepts that are dealt with in basically a 6 episode series, and with them again being about 55 minutes apiece, that's a lot of material to cover. So when I look at this as a whole, doing the non-spoiler aspect of things, I will say that looking at the whole arching series on there, the actors and actresses did an excellent job of doing this. You can tell that these actors and actresses love each other. This is a family. They love slipping into these characters, they make them their own, they're uniquely theirs, and they work well together. And so their acting off of each other is seamless. The settings, the production, I think was pretty good. There are some times where we got a little bit of cheesy. We went a little low budget on some various different things as far as like green screen or something like that. But some locations were done very well. And the way that we go and actually shoot various different things, there's intimacy, there's family, there's a lot of different things going on there. And we like it, we love it, we love being into that universe. In regards to the story, I will say is that because it's them over many years, there's a lot of time jumps. Or I won't say there's a lot of time jumps, but there's shifts of time where we're looking over after those first 2 episodes. We kind of shift over a few years of different stuff happening. We go through, you know, the they skip from 2014 through the presidential 2016, 2017. They go through the pandemic of 2020. We go to the current now of 2022. We can skip ahead even a couple of years after that. There's a lot of different things to go ahead and actually show a dilation of time so that we can have all these different issues and situations to deal with. We age up some of the kids a little bit so that we can deal with some a little bit more difficult topics or what have you. Within those 6 episodes, I can appreciate that if Malcolm Lee's intent was, hey, I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to revisit these characters in the future, and I want to touch on how they would handle it, how they feel about various different things, what their takes would be, have my own voice on it, and all those types of things. I can appreciate that. There are some things that I think probably were not, they kind of dragged the series where you probably could have cut this down to probably about 2 episodes less. It's just my opinion. Okay. But within those, those 6 episodes, there was the story, while shaky at times or what have you, we're all over the place dealing with everybody's different character, what have you. I was still interested because I care about the characters. So I was going to go and actually watch it to its completion regardless. The problem is I don't know if anybody that's not invested into those characters, if they're going to want to go through that story, because the stories, they just go and they keep coming, they keep coming, they keep going. You barely get time to really kind of breathe and kind of let something set in before you jump to the next thing. And tonally we go from drama to comedy real quick in various different scenes or what have you. And that can be a little jarring. So, in total, as far as my verdict, non spoiler verdict, for the full 8 episodes of The Best Man, I would say it's a definite must watch for fans of the Best Man series, for black romantic comedies, though just the target audience, you are going to want to watch the entire 8 episodes. Primarily because you love these characters, you like what they do, they are entertaining, and the stories that they have, the majority of the stories that they tell are meaningful. They have purpose to them and will be entertained the entire time. For those that are casual viewers, I will say watch those first watch the first two again. So I haven't gone to the rest of the 6 episodes. Watch that self-contained first 2 episodes and decide, is this a universe that I want to continue to dabble in to watch? Do I care enough? Do I like them? Do I like the tone of this? If your answer is yes, you'll enjoy the rest of the series. If your answer is no after those first 2 episodes and you want to think like, oh, do I want to watch the rest of the 6? You're not going to get as much enjoyment out of it because there's not, even as much as they're good at acting and doing all this, the pacing in the story is so much at so many different times, what have you, that it starts to become like, okay, when do we get there? When do we cross the finish line? So, again, for my target audience, for Best Man series fans, you guys all in, binge it all. For the casual viewer, go ahead and actually watch the first 2 episodes of it and then see where, and then go ahead and actually see where you are with those characters and see how you like them. Okay? All right. So, this is going to be now my spoiler portion of the review. This is not going to be scripted because I just got through watching everything or what have you. I just got through watching all of it anyways for this entire review, but this is going to be spoiler filled. So this is the third part of this particular video of where we go and actually break down some things, not everything. I might do another video if you guys want me to, breaking down various different episodes and things like that. I'm just going to do a general thing just to kind of give you why I feel the way that I feel about this particular series that I'm so passionate about. And I think what I'll do is do it this way, is that we have 8 main characters that we care about. We have the guys of Terrence Howard as Quentin, Tay Diggs as Harper, Morris Chestnut as El Boogie, Lance, uh, Harold Perneau, and I don't know if I pronounced that man's name, and that's really a shame, but he is a good actor, as Murch. We have Nia Long as Jordan. We have Sanaa Lathan as Robin. We have uh, Regina Hall as Candace. And we have Melissa De Souza as Shelby. Okay, so those are our main 8 actors and actresses that we're interested to see what happens with them. So in my spoiler review, I'm going to go and actually do it like this: is that I think the the story that I didn't like the most, or the person that I think just didn't quite do it. I'll kind of go backwards from the 8. Number 8 is Regina Hall's character. I almost felt like it was like they wrote in a story to go ahead and actually have her kind of get in these stories that I won't say are meaningless, but they didn't hold the same weight or gravitas as everybody else's character. The fact that she's married to, the original friend, one of the original friends, and all that kind of stuff, and she's been there from the very beginning, or what have you. I almost think that she's kind of like an afterthought. So she was kind of made, she's gotten these stories that really don't mean a whole lot. And I say that from the aspect of like her, the aspect of where she kind of, again, this is a spoiler review, so we're going to deal with this, is that when she goes and actually she has that assault happen to her by her professor. That was so unnecessary because we had already had, like, you kind of see him kind of creeping around or what have you, but then every time he moves away from it, and it would have been so much more powerful because I kind of expected that to happen. That was kind of the icky, creepy part about it, is that I'm sitting up there thinking that he is going to do that. And then the times that he didn't, I was like, okay, cool. He actually is going to be a mentor for her. And that would have been cool to go and actually see that dynamic play out. And that never happened. But it's almost like we had a fixation on making that event happen, and we gave it to her because we couldn't go and actually let it happen to one of the other women because they're so powerful and strong and things like that. So we let it happen to the woman that's very much unsure of herself and all that kind of stuff. And it just, I don't like the way that they handled her particular character. I think Regina Hall did very well in the character. I just think that one, they underutilized Regina Hall's, like, she is a comedic genius when it comes to a comedic actress or what have you. They don't utilize her enough, except her and Harry Pinot, her and Merch have that scene where they go ahead and actually get high, and so at the New Year's party, that was hilarious, and they had a little bit of that. But outside of that, Regina Hall was given kind of like the least amount to go ahead and actually work with on this, and I didn't like that. I just think that they kind of did her a disservice. Um, Going backwards, so number seven, the person that I just didn't, uh, who kind of got handled was Harold Perneau's character. Merch has always kind of been like the disrespectful one, and I like the fact that they wouldn't actually touched on. He's always been the quiet one, the one in the background, that always been accepting uh, personality, what have you. I think that was very good that they did that, and I think that aspect of it was good. Some of the aspect of him dealing with Regina Hall's, her study as far as like herbal medicine and of the earth and all that kind of stuff. First of all, that was all kinds of weird. They were a success as far as educating kids and all that kind of stuff, and we were cool with that. Their daughters, seemed to be, pretty decent and what have you and stuff like that. It was almost like they were forcing a story in there for them to have something else outside of what the other ones did, and so that was kind of weird. It was almost like we didn't really have a story for Merch and Candace, so we forced some stuff in there, like him going and actually just doing, MMA or whatever. Like that, I get like him trying to burn off some stress and all that kind of stuff, but then he's actually doing fights or whatever. Like it was just weird. Okay, so for me, I just didn't like with that one on there. So here's my number seven as far as favorite storylines. So going back from that, number six would actually be Sanaa Lathan and Robin's character. She, so I understand again, all of these actors, I keep prefacing by saying they all played their roles very well, but the stories and where they went with it in this spoiler review is kind of like me just, I wish we could have did a different thing with that. So with Robin's character, the fact that she is, she's a good woman, but she is always so unsure of herself. She always allowed Harp to go ahead and actually dictate what they were going to do, what was going to happen with them, and what was, with their family, with their relationship, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, let's just be honest. If we're going to go ahead and actually be real about this, Robin should have left Harp at the end of Best Man 1. Should have totally been like, nah, I'm good. He gave her plenty of red flags or whatever. And I get that she was a very forgiving, loving woman or what have you. But ultimately, them being together and going through that or what have you represented a long term situation that ultimately neither one of them really needed. They they could have been a moment in each other's past and would have been fine with each other, what have you. But it was kind of like an example of, going down the wrong road a little too long. And so I didn't like that that was that. And then the aspect of her, again, this is me being in my sphere or what have you, but the fact that Robin did the whole, um, I'm going to go ahead and actually take Mia and move to Ghana. Like, ma'am, if you're gonna go ahead and actually move like that, and everybody, Tay Diggs' character did what I think any father who really wants to be in their child's life. He got upset about it. Anybody would have. And the fact that his friends kind of talked him out of it, or whatever. Like, uh, I feel a certain kind of way about that, and the whole aspect of Robin doing that. I just didn't like that they went that way with her character, what have you. I mean, moving out of a city or out of a state is one thing. Moving out of the country, moving to a whole nother continent, just didn't like that aspect of it. So, going with that. So again, I've got my 8, 7, 6. So my fifth one is Nina Long's character as Jordan. I liked a lot of what they did with Jordan's character, particularly her being a powerful black woman, being able to juggle a career. She didn't feel the need that she had to go ahead and actually have kids or be in long-term relationship. She went to having, this job and power, and she was the one that was kind of like, she's the Oprah of that whole of that group. She wanted to be successful, and she was determined, and she made it. She was there, she was doing her thing, and she did have some regrets about, missing out on motherhood, and still by the end of all this that she wasn't in a long-term relationship or anything like that. Her friends sustained her, and that those were her relationships or what have you. What I didn't like about her character, so to speak, is that she, as much power as she exuded or what have you, there was an aspect, and she did have control of her life. The fact is that she did go ahead and actually maintain control in so many aspects of it that there wasn't really any room for her to experience um, the spontaneity of life. Now, at the end of it, again, spoiler review, but you're already here, so you should already be aware of this. But at the end of it all, when she goes ahead and actually she steps down, and she's doing projects or what have you, that is one of those things that you can say like, hey, she did go ahead and actually do a little bit of spontaneity, but I think that she realized it very late in the game. Not, I mean, she's not like she's old or whatever. She's got plenty of time to do what she wants to. But I just think for her, as being smart as she was, um, she didn't, looking at perspectives of all her other different friends and things like that, for her to not go and actually make the pivot or anything like that to seek her own happiness was, I wish she would have done it sooner. But I think it was well acted. And again, she did a good job with it. It's just, I wish they would have done something different with her. Now we'll get into my top four, because even though the bottom ones, again, all well done, just I wish I had done something different. Now, these are kind of my better ones of like, hey, I like where they went with them. So, uh, Melissa De Sousa playing Shelby. The woman is now actually one of my favorite characters, because Shelby is the epitome of, she is impulsive. She is the woman, the chick that is going to, she's a ride or die. Like, either she don't fuck with you at all, or she is down for you all the time. And so I love seeing her go from this selfish, stuck up chick as she was in the first one to part of the family, willing to go and actually degrade herself a little bit to go ahead and actually get her man. And then she was supportive of him every way through. Who would have known that in the very beginning of all the Best Man series that we would go ahead and actually have Shelby and Quentin be actually the ideal couple? You would not think that, but they were. And I love her portrayal. She switches from comedy to drama very well. And her stand by her man and being scared about him and going through menopause type of stuff, and still, dealing with being ageism and all that kind of stuff that she was kind of getting out of there. But she was also smart and intelligent, and people didn't really give her enough credit all the time. So like that. Shelby's character was very well done, and I liked it. Third, got my man Terrence Howard. The fact that he went ahead and he was again back to being Quentin. First two episodes worried me because he was not himself. That's because he was with old girl, and I was like, it threw me for a loop. But once he got back with Shelby, he went back to being himself, and we got even deeper. He got really back to himself towards the latter episodes, what have you. I love that about him. The fact that he would tell you the truth, but he did it in like a smooth, playerlistic way. Always loved it. He's got high class of style, but he's always watching everybody. He's always peeping out people's moves and all that kind of stuff. And you need friends like that that can do that. And you could tell Terrence Howard like that's, it's one of his characters that he slips into real smooth, real easy, and it's not really. I think that's very similar to who he is. That's just how I vision him, because he just plays the character so smooth. And the fact that how he dealt with his father and that whole situation of what uh, boys deal with their dads and all that kind of stuff of wanting to be proud and all this kind of stuff on there. Terrence Howard did a very good job portraying Quentin in the way of, hey, he means something, but he's going through these things, including the health stuff on there, and he dealt with them in the way that most of us guys are, especially black men. We just kind of think we could soldier up on there, and also the way that he went and actually handled the situation with his daughter, finding out that Kennedy was his actual daughter, what have you. The fact that he loved that girl still, and all that. I just love that character, the way that they wrote him. So he's my number three. My number two is Tay Diggs' character, Harper. Okay. Harper obviously is, if you really look at it, he's a shit stirrer in all of this. Because Harper is never completely comfortable who he is as a person, as a man, as a father, as a friend, as a author, as a whatever. He's always looking to go ahead and actually prove himself to people, and he wants more, but he doesn't always know how to find it, what to fill in that hole with. Is it gratitude? Is it admiration? Is it love? Is it respect? Is it, what have you? And he's always searching for it. So he's always looking for more. And sometimes he gets in his own way. Sometimes he's the smartest man in the room, which pisses everybody off. And he starts up shit that, nobody else is sitting up there thinking about. And for him making moves and stuff. And one of the things that I think was well done in this is, people point out to him is that, when you go ahead and when Merch told him, when you have a choice, like he said that he didn't have a choice in regards to dealing with Robin and the custody or what have you. And when Merch told him, you always have choices, but you always choose to, if the choice is of yourself or, favoring somebody else, you will always pick yourself. And his friends loved him, but they always saw that. They saw it from way back, and we knew that in Best Man first one. We saw it in Best Man Holiday, and we saw it in this series that he was, as smart as he was, as successful as he was, and he was a good friend. But there was also times that he was an asshole in his aspect. Excuse me. That I don't know if YouTube will strike that for me, but I apologize. This is meant for adults, not kids. Um, in that Harper is who drives the force of us of self-doubt, of always trying to strive for more, but we don't know. It's that empty feeling that we get in society, in relationships, in love, in professionalism, where we're trying to be more, for what? Are we trying to do it for money? Are we trying to do it for security? Trying to do it for respect? Whatever and stuff. And we have our own insecurities, and he represents that. And so I think Tay Diggs did a very good job of being that guy that has all the talent and all the gifts in the world, but still is lost. And he needed his friends to ground him, to be his compass, to point him in the right direction. He needed Robin to go ahead and actually be his rock, to go and actually keep loving him, for him to go and actually feel the way he felt. He needed Quentin to go ahead and actually tell him, like, hey man, you're doing dirt, you're doing wrong. He needed somebody like Merch to be his moral compass. He needed Lance to go and actually be basically do that, bullying him to, like, hey, you're gonna go ahead and actually do this. And everybody else on there that played a role in somebody like Tay Diggs or Harper's role, where it is, it's not wrong to be successful, to want things in life, but but knowing what you want and how to obtain it, and when to go ahead and actually go for yourself, and when to go for other people that you care about, and when the sacrifices happen or what have you. Harper didn't always make the best choices, and so I love that character about him. And he started to gain the realization over the trilogy. I'll say trilogy because it's easier to say it that way. Over the span of these tales being told, Harper is the one that has the furthest to grow, and he does, but he's stubborn about it. Everybody else is kind of getting there organically. He's the stubborn one that can't be pulled along. And I think Tay Diggs conveys that very well. And he's the second favorite story. I like where they went with his character. The last one is obviously Morris Chestnut as being Lance. the alpha male bravo superstar thing that, he wasn't my favorite one in the first one or what have you, but I respected where he went. But from him as a man to go from, superstar athlete in college to being a professional athlete, having all the women, having money and all this kind of stuff, having a perfect family, having a perfect life or what have you, and in Best Man Holiday, he had that snatched away from him. Well, technically, in the very first, Best Man, he had the perfect stuff snatched away from him by learning that his best friend had slept with, his fiance, and he still goes and actually goes through it anyways because of his faith. Then in Best Man Holiday, he has the perfect woman that he has forgiven, not maybe completely, but he's forgiven her enough in the heart to go and actually have a family and get through it or whatever. But there's still that little ticking guilt thing or what have you, and then he has her taken away from him. And now that perfect man, and he's getting ready to retire at that point in time or what have you. So now you have a man that's in his, at that point he'd have been like in his mid to late 30s, and all of a sudden perfection is taken away from him. And now in this series, we go ahead and actually see him as a 40 something, still looking good, still in the prime of him being who he is, still being articulate, has all these different things going for him, and still has great kids and all this kind of stuff. He still has money, but he doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't know what to do with himself personally. He doesn't know what to do with his kids sometimes on there. So much so that, his own son goes and actually is, turns out to go and actually be a non binary, and being able to cope with that. And he's still a man of faith and trying to hang on to that, but he's in all these relationships and just being with different women or what have you. And then he meets this one woman who thinks he's got, and he bonds with or whatever, and then find out that, oh, she's getting married. He moves on from that. He still has his friends around there, but he is the one that's struggling through so much. And Morris Chestnut does a very good job of acting in a way that I think most of us find real. Is like, when he's angry, he's angry. When he is lost, he is lost. When he um, feels joy or happiness for his friends, he's there. When he needs to be truthful and hard with them, he will. And so, what I appreciate about that character is he probably had perfection more than anybody else early on in life. He was set up to go and actually have the perfect life, and instead he went ahead and actually had that taken away from him, and he had to learn how to build and be something different. And between learning how to go ahead and actually raise his kids without his wife, going ahead and actually finding a career that's, not in acting, not directly in playing football, not in sports casting or anything like that, he finds out to go and actually be a coach, whatever, he starts gravitating towards that. Go ahead and actually not looking for love and all random hookups and women, but looking for it in a meaningful relationship, very much like he had or whatever, and being open to it when it comes about and being there for that. And then to go and actually still be a good friend through all of this, and to keep to being a man of faith. To let all of that still permeate that this is a man that has been through a lot. He was blessed with a lot, he was given a lot, and he's lost a lot. And to come out on the other side of that, I believe his character was the best written and well acted, and I think that's the one that I go ahead and actually really gravitate towards. That's what I wanted to go and actually get through on my spoiler filled review. There are a lot of different things that I could break down, different episodes, what have you, but I wanted to go and actually convey my thoughts on my portrayals of, my main eight characters and how I liked where they ended up, or what they did with them, or what they didn't do, and all that kind of stuff, missed opportunities. So there we go. That's my full review for The Best Man, the final chapters.
Life doesn't always go the way we expect, but if we're lucky, we end up where we're supposed to.
Thank you if you stayed this long with me. I really appreciate you. This is a review that I feel really passionate about. Obviously, this is probably the longest video I've ever done, but I enjoy doing it. If you liked anything about this video, click like. If you really love this video, please subscribe. And if you absolutely feel like this is a video that conveys some your similar thoughts or opinions or what have you, comment and share, because this is one of the reviews that I really appreciated doing. So until the next review, I appreciate you giving me your time, and you take care of yourself.